So I'm cooking again today. I don't really know what to call this even. I've been recording these. I don't know why. I just tried it out. Kind of fun. It's my stress relief on Sunday. So I cook for fun. I hate to cook during the week. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to make. I I'm just gonna take a stab at the name of it. It's just something I put together. So it's not really chili because that would do a disservice to real chili. This is a light, low fat. Um, I would call it light spring chili, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I'll let you decide. Maybe you can vote on it. Put some comments down on what you think it should be called. But anyway, so I'll show you the ingredients. So I've got bell pepper, onion, tomatoes, and I've got some already cut up right over here, and kind of some tomato sauce too. Um, this is oregano and garlic, and just little green onions. I usually just chop some of those up or cut some of those up into the top of it. Red beans, and these are green chilies. Which are chopped up and diced, and these are mild green chilies. If you want it hotter, you can add hotter. But since I always use this, I usually produce my own heat with it. So anyway, Tabasco sauce, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, salt, pepper, not a lot of spices. Lea and Perrins, I'm gonna tell you something because those of you that know me know that I do not eat red meat. So I eat white meat, so I have turkey, and this is 97% fat-free ground turkey. And a secret to turkey that no restaurant seems to do this, and I don't know why they don't do it because it makes it taste so much like beef, is the Lea and Perrins. And it makes a huge difference if you put it on right when it's about done. Just kind of put some in the skillet when you're frying it up. Turns out perfect every time. So it tastes so much better, and I don't know why more don't use it. So anyway, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna show you some of the stuff chopped up, or maybe while I'm chopping. All right. So first, I'm going to chop the bell pepper up. That's really nice to do now. That's this one. And when you're chopping bell pepper, just so you know, it is really always good to keep the white. I don't like the white, it's a little bit bitter, so I always kind of cut that out, or you kind of pull it out with your fingers. But anyway, I get most of that white out on the inside because it's just, it's a little bit bitter. So, I could use my big knife, but this little one seems to be doing pretty good, if you don't mind the sliding sound of it on the cutting board. So I fill in the slices. And now I'm just chopping them sideways, just to get them all out. And I usually use my bigger knife for this, but you can kind of see it's really getting small because it's real tough to cut through. So I'm gonna have to get my knife sharpened, or find me one in the drawer over there. So I do everything in advance, just because I like to cook by just throwing stuff in and not having to chop while I'm cooking. I get asked the question a lot of why I like to cook, and I don't know where that came from. I know what it was when I was growing up is I loved watching my mother cook. I would go out and help Daddy in the yard on Saturdays, and then Mother would come in and cook. And I kind of grew up in a non-traditional family for that time because my dad always did the dishes, is what I remember when I was growing up. My mother would cook, and since they both worked and weren't at home, Daddy would always help out. But I don't think Daddy knew how to cook at all. So I'm peeling these right now just to get some of that skin off the outside. And I would sit up. One of my favorite things to do after I helped Daddy in the yard was to sit up on the counter. Mother would let me sit up there and just watch her cook, which was so much fun to do. And so I used to love to do that when I was young. And I think I got my love of cooking from that. That's the only thing I could think of. But I don't cook by recipes usually. I don't bake. I'm not good. I'm not a good baker unless it's just super easy to follow. But baking has to be exact. Cooking, I mean, I just cook to my taste. I can remember even like when I was 7 years old or even younger, starting to cook unbaked chocolate oatmeal cookies. And I got to where when I was about 11 years old, I was doing this by myself in the house while I was waiting on Mother and Day to get home from work every day, and loved cooking those. And if you don't know about those are kind of chocolate drop cookies, and we put pecans in them and oatmeal, and you drop them out and they have to get hard laying out on wax paper. A lot of times the humidity in Louisiana did not allow for them to get very hard. So sometimes they would just be a gooey mess, but I learned from that. So everything I do, I learn from mistakes, and then I just keep going. So I'm going to go with the onion now. So I want you to notice that after I finished cutting up my onions, I left them in big pieces. I can usually chop them a lot finer than that, but for this, I kind of like the chunkiness of it in with it. So the dish just tastes better with them a little bit bigger. And for some reason, onions don't make me cry that much. So my eyes are not tearing up. I don't. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Oh, and when they're in season, of course they don't carry them in. I'm in East Texas now. In Louisiana, they always carried them. These Vidalia onions. If you haven't tried them, oh my gosh. Around here they have noonday onions, which definitely are not the same. The Vidalia onions are sweet, 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 sweet. They come from Vidalia, Mississippi, and we couldn't wait till they came out. I used to cook, especially when I was in New Orleans. I would cook those Vidalia onions up, and it's actually, I'm gonna have to use a little knife again. It was actually my neighbor that told me about them and how to cook with them. And you can actually, a Vidalia onion, you can pick up, you can eat it without, hard time, I don't think this garlic's quite ripe enough. Anyway, you could eat it without anything else. I mean, you could just slice it up and eat it. It's that sweet. And I was like, no, I would never, ever, ever do that. And once I tasted it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's really good. So when you cook with it, it's just extremely sweet. And tastes so good. So, but I can't get them in East Texas. All I can get is the noonday onions, which are good. They're sweet, but they're just not as sweet as the Vidalia onions. If you don't know about smashing your garlic, not only will the peeling come off easy, which mine was a little bit underdone this time, but also it brings the flavor out. Another thing to know about garlic is if you put it in there right when you put your other veggies in, it will burn. So I wait till almost when my veggies are about done, with bell pepper especially, because bell pepper takes a while. I'm going to try this with these. I love these shears. My mother got me these, and they're for the kitchen. They look like plant shears, but they're for the kitchen. It just makes it so easy just to chop things up very quickly. So I'm going to put this oregano in. And if you chop it finely enough, the stems are fine. Sometimes I'll just take off and just do the leaves. I love fresh oregano, fresh basil. I love those things. Sometimes I'll put basil in this, but since it's kind of like a chili, basil really doesn't go. Italian really doesn't go, but the oregano really does work in here. So I've got all my ingredients here, and we're going to go over to the frying pan. Well, first of all, I will put the green chilies and the tomatoes, because I could use that together. And there is nothing better. If you have peeled, boiled tomatoes, these are already cut up after I boiled them and peeled them, but you have to do it with your hands. That's the only way to do it. And boy, it gets messy. But when you mix it up like this, it's wonderful. And at first I was like, no, no, no. Can't stick my hands in there. But I love doing it that way now. So I can't pause the video because I need to rinse off my hands before I can touch the camera. Because I am doing this by myself again. Alright, so I'm about ready to fry up my meat, and I usually just put just a little bit of olive oil. This is a cast iron skillet that's coated. Just put just enough olive oil to coat it, just a little bit more. I love olive oil. So then we'll let that heat up just a second. Our meat. And I didn't get all my utensils out. This is my junk utility drawer. And I do not see my favorite spoon. Alright, so I learned last time I can't turn on the hood without it drowning out every piece of noise. So I've got the turkey in here, found my favorite spoon, in the dishwasher, and I had to wash it. I just never use those. The better ones I never use. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little. Medium. Alright, so when it's frying up, I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of salt in it. Pepper. And I'm going to go ahead and put my Lea & Perrins in there. You can see it's kind of halfway done. Put the Lea & Perrins. And this makes it taste more like beef. Tastes like you grilled something out on a grill. Sometimes I'll put even that liquid smoke in it. I don't like to use that too much. And it only takes like a drop to make it smoky. Getting all this just about done. I'm going to go ahead and put in my bell peppers. Sometimes I'll do those first. So I'm going to have to cut this off and then cut back on, which you won't see anything but a tiny little pause here. Alright, so I've added my bell peppers and my onions. You usually put the bell peppers in first because they get done. It takes them a lot longer to get done. But I went ahead and added them in. I'm just going to let this simmer for a while. I'm going to add a few spices. This is another one of those that if you use a lot of fresh ingredients, and that's why I don't let the turkey get completely done before I add the bell pepper and the oregano and the onion, because I like it to soak up that flavor. I'm going to put just a little bit more Lea & Perrins in. It also darkens up turkey, so it doesn't look like turkey as much. Put some Tony Chachere's in. And I think that's going to go ahead and put some Tabasco in. This is so easy. This is such an easy thing to do. Of course, I love even some of the longer periods of time cooking, but anyway, let these get soft, and then we'll add our red beans. That I cooked the red beans last night, and I just let them soak. Well, I usually let my beans soak for about overnight, and then the next morning I'll cook them. But yesterday I had time, yesterday morning, to let them soak, so by 4 or 5 o'clock I was able to go ahead and cook them at that time and have them ready for today. I'll tell you something else while I'm talking and watching this. I can hear the dogs in the background arguing and playing. Anyway, I a lot of people, because I'm from Louisiana, automatically assume I'm Cajun and I cook Cajun. But I lived in New Orleans. I didn't live in the other parts of South Louisiana. And the Cajun culture and New Orleans culture are totally different. New Orleans has more Creole style to it. And there are Cajun restaurants in New Orleans, and there's plenty of people in South Louisiana that from Cajun country that moved to New Orleans. But New Orleans has this blend of flavors, kind of from the Caribbean, Africa, and then included French. The part that surprises most people is there are a whole lot of Italians from Sicily in New Orleans, a huge population. New Orleans was a port city, and at one time was the biggest port city before it became part of the United States. I believe that honor belongs to Houston now for being the biggest, but New Orleans is still a big port city. But way back in the 1700s, even when Native Americans were trading with the French and the Spanish that had settled New Orleans, all their flavors came into the food. But one of the big differences in Cajun and Creole is Creole loves to use tomatoes. Now, Cajuns will use tomatoes, but if you put tomatoes in your gumbo, and I know some people watching this that are my friends, they always throw a fit when I put tomatoes in my gumbo, but I make Creole gumbo. I don't make Cajun gumbo. So in some of the next videos, I'll make some gumbo. It's a little warm, it's springtime, so I usually make gumbo in the winter. Maybe some jambalaya or etouffee. And I love to cook those things, but I cook them more in a New Orleans way than a Cajun way. So you have to learn the difference in those. The accent is totally different. Language is totally different between Cajun and Creole. And New Orleans, it's just a big blend of people. And that's what makes the food and the flavors so good, is it's international. It's just taken over. But a lot of Caribbean flavors, a lot of Italian, Sicilian flavors come into the foods there. And just the old creativity of New Orleans is just amazing with their cooking. I'm not that kind of cook. I could never work in a kitchen, I don't think. They would hire me. Alright, so this is about when I add my garlic, as you can see. And I'm going to see because I'll do that with one hand. Ooh, kind of hot from the steam there. And now let the garlic kind of soak in just a little bit. And I'm going to put in my beans. And then last, I'll put in the tomatoes. And this will sit and simmer all day long. I would usually like to make it in the mornings. You could put a lot more beans in that. I didn't have much. I'd already used half a package cooking, so I didn't have a whole lot. So I'm putting that. This is the tomatoes and the chopped mild green chilies. So, any ideas on what to call this? I just have, it's low fat definitely, so maybe low fat, what did I say before? Low fat spring chili. I hate to dishonor the chili name because chili in Texas is big and it is so good. And this is nothing like chili. But it's the closest thing I could come to what to call it. Okay, so I'll let this mix up for a while. That is every ingredient except for the green onions, which I will put in just a minute. And when I serve this up, you can do away with the low fat if you want and put sour cream on top. I'll do that. But you can also, if you want to keep it low calorie and still have something else on top of it, you can use plain yogurt. Plain yogurt works great as a substitution for sour cream. Alright, so we're going to let this simmer a little bit. And I've got about 7 on my cooker, which has grease splattered all over it now. I might turn it up just a little bit longer, just to kind of soften everything up. Alright, so this is cooking on down. I've got my ones that I call my kitchen garden shears that Mom gave me. That works out perfect. Cutting things up like this. Let's put some of the green onions in there. And you can skip this part and just put some green onions as garnish on top of it when you serve it. But I like it. Yes. But it does make it prettier when you serve it, especially with a little sour cream and green onions. So I may do that still. I'm not going to put the whites in there. It gets a little stronger with the whites. Alright, it is time for a taste test. So I can see if I need any more seasonings. And that water will cook on out. Let's see. Alright, so this is my taste test. It's going to be really, really, really hot. Oh, good. Put a little more salt. And about out of my Cajun seasoning. Tell you what, I'm going to add an ingredient. The ingredient lasts a minute. This is not an ingredient that you're supposed to do with this. It's usually just for blackening chicken or blackening fish, but this is Zatarain's blackened seasoning, and it is a wonderful seasoning just to use in the kitchen. You should throw that out. I'm going to leave this uncovered and going for a while. Give it another quick taste test. A little more heat and we got it. Alright, I'm going to keep it going like this for about, well, I'm going to let it sit all day, but I'm going to plex them up in just a minute. Let's see what it looks like done. So this is it, all plated up, and I ended up chopping just a little bit more of the green onion to put on top. And I use sour cream, and you can really, really get some fat in there, which I absolutely love if you actually put some Fritos and put it on top of Fritos, like a Frito chili pie. But still low fat because of the turkey, and I'm sticking to that. So anyway, and again, you can use yogurt if you don't want to use sour cream. And I will show you real quick what the animals are doing. There's Bayou. They're always around somewhere. Frankie, who's put on a lot of weight, likes to watch now. And there's Hoover back there. Let's see if I can zoom in on Hoover. I think he missed the last one. And Lafayette is being very quiet. Don't know what's going on with him. He's usually talking away right now. I see Hoover's made a mess of his food bowl too. And Bella, who is the same color as the floors. Both of them looking up at me. And so I actually can't see her sometimes. And I'm like calling her and she's right on my feet the whole time. So I just completely miss her because she is almost the exact same color as my floors. So thanks everybody. And I hope this turned out okay. Again, you know, just on the fly, still practicing. One day maybe I'll have a cooking show if I keep practicing. Maybe with a film crew of even one person would help. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great Sunday. I love doing this. Stress relief, like I talked about. And I will see you all hopefully soon. If I don't see you in person, I'll see you on Facebook or see you on YouTube or wherever we meet. All right. Love you all. Have a great Sunday.